A man walks into a grocery store and picks up basic food items like bread, rice, milk, and oil. He looks at the price tag and frowns, shocked by how expensive everything has become. He checks his wallet and slowly puts one item back on the shelf. A calm voice asks a simple question: why is food becoming expensive again? The screen shows different countries, America, Europe, Asia, and Africa, facing the same problem. Families everywhere are spending more money just to eat the same food as before. The story goes back to the last global food crisis. Old images appear of empty shelves and long lines for flour and cooking oil. Leaders are shown promising that such a crisis will never happen again. The scene returns to today, where prices are rising quietly. News headlines say inflation is falling, but grocery bills tell a different story. The voice explains that food prices are not only about farming. Dry fields and flooded farms show how extreme weather is destroying crops. War zones appear, where food routes are blocked and supplies are delayed. Large countries are shown storing food instead of exporting it. Rising fuel, shipping, and fertilizer costs push prices even higher. A poor family sits together, sharing smaller meals than before. The voice explains that for the poor, expensive food means hunger. Children are shown looking tired and weak as the crisis grows silently. The intro ends with a warning. The next global food crisis will not start suddenly. It will start slowly, with prices rising, while the world looks away. The video opens with a slow zoom on a world map as food prices rise across continents at the same time. A calm voice explains that this is not a local problem, and not a temporary one. It is a global issue building quietly under the surface. The camera moves to large farms where the land looks dry and cracked. Farmers walk through fields where crops failed before harvest. The narrator explains that extreme heat is destroying wheat, rice, and corn. Then the scene changes to floods, washing away crops in other regions. Too much rain arrives at the wrong time, ruining months of hard work. Climate change is shown as unstable weather, making farming risky and unpredictable. The focus shifts to food-producing countries that once fed the world. Lower harvests mean less food enters global markets. When supply goes down and demand stays the same, prices naturally rise. Next, the video cuts to war zones. Abandoned farms, damaged storage facilities, and blocked roads appear on screen. The voice explains that wars don't only kill people, they kill food systems. Farmers flee, fuel becomes unavailable, and transportation becomes dangerous. Ships wait at ports that are closed or destroyed. Food that should reach global markets never arrives. The camera shows busy shipping routes slowing down. Cargo ships move slowly as fuel prices rise. Truck drivers explain that transport costs are higher than ever. The narrator explains that every step of food's journey costs money, from the farm to the factory, from the ship to the store shelf. Higher fuel means higher prices. The scene changes to fertilizer factories. Machines slow down and production lines stop. The voice explains that fertilizer is made using natural gas and energy. When energy prices rise, fertilizer becomes expensive or unavailable. Farmers are forced to use less fertilizer, producing smaller harvests. Less harvest again means less food, and higher prices follow. The video then shows governments holding emergency meetings. Officials talk about food security and national safety. Countries announce export bans to protect their own people. Warehouses are filled with grain, rice, and wheat stored for the future. The narrator explains that stockpiling may protect one country, but hurts many others. When big exporters stop selling, poorer nations are left with empty markets. Markets in developing countries are shown next. prices are written on boards, rising week after week. Shopkeepers explain that customers buy less every day. A mother compares prices and walks away without buying meat. The narrator explains that people stop eating because they want to, they stop because they have no choice. The camera focuses on currency exchange boards. The voice explains how weak currencies make imported food even more expensive. When a country's money loses value, food from abroad costs much more. This creates a double problem: high global prices and low local buying power. The video cuts to city slums and rural villages. Families eat smaller portions than before. Meals that once included protein now include only bread or rice. The narrator explains that hunger doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like silent suffering and slow damage. Children are shown sitting in classrooms, tired and unfocused. Teachers explain that hungry children cannot learn properly. Aid workers warn that malnutrition leaves lifelong scars. The narrator explains that rising food prices today will damage future generations. The scene changes to supermarkets in rich countries. Shelves are full, but prices are high. People complain, but they still manage to eat. The narrator explains the harsh truth. Food inflation hurts everyone, but it destroys the poor first. Experts appear on screen, warning that this crisis is different. The world is facing climate stress, conflict, and economic pressure all at once. There is no single switch to turn this problem off. Short-term fixes no longer work. The main body closes with a slow montage of farms, markets, ships, and families. The voice explains that the global food crisis is not coming suddenly. It is building quietly, step by step, price by price. And if the world keeps ignoring these signs, the cost will not only be measured in money, but in human lives. The screen slowly fades through faces of people from different countries. The narrator reminds us that food connects every human being on this planet. A quiet kitchen is shown where a family prepares a very small meal. The voice explains that hunger does not arrive with noise or explosions. It arrives slowly, through higher prices and smaller portions. A supermarket receipt fills the screen, showing rising totals. The narrator says this crisis is already here, just not equally felt by everyone. World leaders appear giving speeches about stability and growth. The voice asks a simple question: stability for whom, and growth for who? The camera returns to farmers, workers, and children. These are the people who pay the price for global decisions. The narrator explains that the world has enough food. The real problem is access, fairness, and priorities. A clock-ticking sound is heard as images move faster. Prices rise. Supplies tighten. Time runs out. The voice becomes calm but serious. If nothing changes, today's price increase becomes tomorrow's hunger crisis. The final scenes show a sunrise over fields and cities. The narrator says this story is not about fear, it is about responsibility. Because food security is not a luxury, it is a human right. The screen fades to black with one final message. The question is not whether the next food crisis will come. The question is whether the world will act before it does.